Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports, where, as you might have guessed it, we go over everything that's happened this week in Philadelphia sports. Again, if you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, it would be amazing if you could take the time to do so. Thank you for watching this content, and we'll do our best to fill you in on all of the news you may or may not have missed over the last 7 days. Firstly, a quick apology that this video is technically on a Tuesday and not a Monday. If you follow Philly Sports Network and myself on Twitter, you'll know that this last few days has been incredibly taxing, both mentally and emotionally for a lot of us here at PSN. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who has reached out with their support. It's definitely meant a lot to all of us. We're just really grateful that you're willing to continue to stick by us and put your trust in us and continue to watch and read what we do and support our mission of trying to become the best Philadelphia sports platform out there. So thank you for that. Anyway, it's only right that we start with the Philadelphia Eagles, and there was a lot of minor roster movement over the last few days. So what I wanted to do was just kind of condense it all into one segment, because there's no point spending loads of time on what we already know. We know that one of the more spicy roster moves, if you pardon the get it, he's Vinny Curry. Never mind. I not have been familiar with the two undrafted free agents that were then waived in order to make a corresponding move. The Eagles released local DB product Prince Smith and defensive tackle Bruce Hector. Now, Hector had been on the team before, had been kind of bouncing around the lower end of the depth chart, and hadn't really been able to find his rhythm, especially with players such as Trayvon Hester and Anthony Rush both proving their worth in recent years. So I do think that the Eagles have just whittled it down a little bit. They know they've got a very strong defensive tackle core. It's just going to be difficult for someone like Hector to come on and make the roster. And as for Prince Smith, similar sort of thing. And no matter where you look, whether it's CB1, CB2, nickel, safety, there's so much talent on the edge of making that roster that he was always going to be on the outside looking in. Given that OTAs have gone, given there's no preseason, the Eagles just playing it cool here, being sensible, trimming their roster down. Then Jatavis Brown retired, so that was good. He kind of outlasted the likes of Frank Gore, but wasn't quite at the same level as Ruben Randall. Solid 6 out of 10 in terms of an Eagles grade from me. But overall, you've got to respect his decision. If he's losing his love for the game, then it makes full sense to step away from it and do what's best for him, his family, and obviously his long-term future. It does open up a very intriguing option at linebacker. I love the idea of implementing more defensive backs. We've seen Will Parks, for instance, play plenty of snaps at middle linebacker. Again, I think the guy's played literally everywhere. He could punt the ball with Cameron Johnston if you asked him to. But I like the energy that Parks brings to the table. I do think he's going to be strong inside. I think names like Kayvon Wallace can also help negate that loss along with Jalen Mills. What I don't think is going to happen though is that we're going to see a lot of linebacker heavy formations, because the depth chart right now is incredibly light. You've obviously got Nate Gary, who is now somehow, along with Duke Riley, the most experienced linebacker there with just 3 years of experience. So that's not a very veteran-heavy group. There's a lot of young, a lot of unproven talent, a lot of talent with question marks as to where that long-term future lies. And even though Davion Taylor may well be the future of the outside linebacker role, we've still got questions about what happens on the other side, and of course in the middle, where it looks like TJ Edwards could be your base Mike linebacker. I always wondered where they got the names Mike, Sam and Will from. Why not Marvin, Stewart and Wendy? Yeah? Don't know. But we will be doing some videos this week looking at the linebacker picture and the names that should have their stock up and stock down. I would say keep an eye out for names like Duke Riley, who was a proven special teamer last year, should be in line to see some starting snaps in 2020 now that Jatavis Brown is out of the way. I think the starting three in a base look will probably be TJ Edwards at Mike, then on one side Nate Gary, and on the other you're looking at a combination of Davion Taylor or perhaps Duke Riley. And then of course the Eagles signed Vinny Curry, which finally shores up the defensive end position. And it, of course, happened one day after I put a video up saying they don't need to... What? I didn't say... What? In all seriousness, though, it does add some much-needed depth and familiarity. We know Derek Barnett is kind of on the hot seat the next 2 years. We also know that Brandon Graham won't be around forever. And Josh Sweat, while he's taken a step up, beneath him, there is no one. Yes, you've got Sharif Miller, but that's like saying you've got me at defensive end at the moment. And yes, Joe Osman is great and the team love him, but coming off an ACL without OTAs, without preseason, what can we really expect from him? That's the question mark, and it's one that Vinny Curry will answer. Even if it is taking a more reduced role behind Josh Sweat, it at least gives them some kind of security. As for Jannard Avery, I haven't got a bloody clue at this point, because 1 minute I was thinking, right, he's going to be that great defensive end, he's going to be the DE4, he's going to come in, cause havoc, and now I'm like, well, now he could be an outside linebacker, because that's where he was playing in Cleveland, and the Eagles have very little depth at outside linebacker, so he could be in a real hybrid role. Or he might not have a role at all. I mean, it is Jim Schwartz in it, so who knows. As for the Flyers, their playoff run starts tomorrow. Against the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, there's some familiarity between the two franchises and some players and coaches that have almost intertwined during their NHL careers. It's going to be a very fun series. We will be doing watch-alongs. I'm very, very excited. The way the Flyers were able to sweep their way through the round robin and the depth that shone was unbelievable. Like, could you imagine at the start of that round robin if I'd have said to you that after 3 games, your top goal scorers would be Nicholas Orb-Cabell, Nate Thompson, and Scott Lawton leading the way with 3. Although my problem with Scott Lawton is, how do you pronounce his name if you're British? Because Americans go, Scott Lawton, that sounds good. If I do it, Scott Lawton. Scott Lawton. Scott Loughton. Scott Lufton? Scott Lugerton. We're going to go with Scott, alright? But Tyler Pitlick, Michael Raffle, and Joel Farabee all got some postseason action and some postseason goals as well. And even without Jake Voracek, the Flyers still looked strong. I'm honestly really excited. I think they may have one of the deepest rosters throughout any of the remaining playoff teams, and they could well be primed to make a real deep run under Alan Vigneault. Sixers, meanwhile, probably doing nothing of the sort, because believe it or not, if you had on your Sixers bingo card, Joel Embiid gets injured, Ben Simmons is out indefinitely and needs surgery, you win the jackpot. Well done. Welcome to, what do you want to win? I mean, I've got some hand sanitizer, or I've got a Carson Wentz bobblehead, or I've got a bottle of zero sugar Coke. It's entirely up. Not that kind of, you know, we're not advocating that. It's just all gone a bit wrong, and they're currently playing the Suns, and that isn't going well. But just in case they win, the Sixers had a great game against the Suns, showing that they do have the depth to rebound and that they can win those big games against a team that was undefeated in the bubble. And if they didn't win, well, the Sixers predictably fall to the Suns, a team that was undefeated going out of that 6-game stretch. And now there will be major question marks over names like Al Horford and Brett. You get where I'm going with it, right? Philadelphia Phillies ended up splitting a series with the Atlanta Braves after a 13-8 win. And my God, the bats caught fire. We've been waiting for it for ages. We saw Spencer Howard, Spenny Wenny Dog go out and have a lovely debut, kind of. That was okay. Nick Pivetta got sent back down to the minors because it's Nick Pivetta, and it looks as though the Phillies might finally have a sign of life. It took long enough to shake off that rust, but my God, it seems like it's gone 0 to 100 very, very quickly, and that can only be good things for the Phillies. And then you've got the Philadelphia Union, who went crashing out of the MLS's back semi-finals after a heartbreaking loss to a very difficult Portland side. I mean, they just got the better of them. We did the watch-along. It was absolutely heartbreaking in every sense of the word. It was an offside goal late in the game, super late into the game. The Union scored 1. They quickly would have tallied that, made it 2-2. But for some reason, the dodgiest offside call happened ever. It broke hearts everywhere. And had Sergio Santos not missed a penalty, we may well have been speaking about a team playing tonight in the MLS's back final. I mean, we're not, so I'll try not to cry too much, but it sucked a lot. The good news is, though, that Philadelphia sports are back and the usual shithousery resumes. The Phillies are streaky as any. The Phillies are up and down. The Sixers don't know what they're doing. The Flyers are somehow the only saving grace of the city at the moment after the Union broke all of our hearts. And the Eagles, I'm hoping, actually have a season, but only time will tell. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate your support and patience with me during this time. It hasn't been easy, I can't lie. It means a lot. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Liam Jenkins PSN. We'll see you soon.